popular demand, a guest that has spurred controversy on this channel and elsewhere. Of course, I'm speaking about John Cullen. John, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jason. Thanks for having me back on the show.
Now, I can detect, using my secret agent abilities, some rain. So that must mean you're not in Thailand.
Exactly. I've moved to Moldova, and I'm enjoying the rainstorms here in Moldova.
You know, I joke about it, and I know that, you don't necessarily want to talk about this, but I think it is important to recall the sequence of events that led to the long break in our communication, where another channel, well, I should say an individual who is the proprietor of another channel, created a rift by challenging your information in a way that I don't really think was too valid. Now, the person I'm talking about, of course, is Jake Morphonios, and Jake referred to newspaper article evidence that he claimed would corroborate his statement that he called the Saudi Arabian embassy and they gave him the whereabouts of the prince. He's never presented those news articles that he claims corroborate what he said, that tell us the location of the Prince Mohammed bin Salman on October 1st. And again, I'm not saying that MBS was in Vegas. I'm not saying that MBS was walking through the Tropicana. We know now that guy in the Tropicana was not MBS. But still, we haven't seen any newspaper articles corroborating his location on October 1st. And, John, someone has brought to my attention a channel called Blackstone Intelligence Chumps Network, which is an interesting YouTube channel that is posting videos that give us some examples of Jake falsifying other evidence. There was a thing here, I don't know if it's still here. There's an entire video here that was giving examples of Jake, here, changing here's a doctor newspaper article. So Jake seems to be in a regular practice of using Photoshop or whatever to change news articles or crop news articles and show us portions of news articles, which is a gross manipulation, you might even say a falsification of evidence, John. And I bring this up not to malign Jake Morphonios. I welcome Jake back to the channel to present his evidence. I have no problem with anybody challenging evidence that we present, conclusions that we draw from that evidence. What I have a problem with is people hurling around baseless accusations and saying things that are completely false to malign myself or my guests. And I think Jake was very unprofessional in his dealings with you and gave us no conclusive evidence there. So we've got another point of evidence where Jake is manipulating things. And there's another group that we're familiar with, John, that you've covered quite extensively on your channel, which of course is the John E. Hoover channel, and this group also manipulates evidence. I think you know who I'm talking about. Right? John? I'm talking
You can make me guess?
Well, yeah. I'm talking about the Las Vegas Metro Police. They seem to be falsifying, modifying, doing all kinds of things to evidence. Just this past week, you and I last spoke, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, but just this past week, there's been another major drop of body cam footage from the Las Vegas Metro PD. Tell us a bit about what's been going on.
Yeah, so since I was last on the show 2 weeks ago, we produced a video that showed some gunfire taking place at midnight. One of our viewers, named Moondrop, commented and said, "Oh yeah, you've shown some corroborated footage of gunfire at midnight. Here's a few other body cam recordings that also have the same footage. And so in the spirit of crowdsourcing the truth and crowdsourcing justice, that's exactly what happened here. So one of our viewers brought this information forward, and based on that, we produced this video about gunfire at midnight. And I think you've got that one queued up right now. And so this is driven by one of our viewers, and this is a perfect example of how justice, how criminology is changing because of social media.
Yeah.
And this is something that the LVMPD was not prepared for.
And I would also add, John, I think this is a major reason why I personally and my YouTube channel and my other social media channels, Crowdsource the Truth, have come under fire. It's not because I'm such a genius. It's because this crowdsource investigative journalism method is so powerful, it's like almost unbeatable.
It's changing criminology. It's changing criminology. And the universities are going to have to acknowledge what's taking place right now. The history is being made as we speak. This is changing criminology.
So let's watch this bit of footage here, and then you can talk us through exactly what's going on in it, okay?
Sure, yeah. Let's take a look.
Oh, shit.
Units, we're getting a 415A now, Bellagio, PDR is hearing a lot of shots being fired.
When they breached, they said one SWAT shot him. SWAT shot him. SWAT shot him. That's a shot. That's a shot.
What was that? Oh, right here. Go. Oh shit, that's machine gun. Is that what it was? Right here. Go. Oh shit, that's machine gun. That's machine gun fire.
Okay.
We're getting a 415A now, Bellagio, PDR is hearing a lot of shots being fired.
You can see the Bellagio in the rear view.
Control. Control.
Okay, so what do you want to tell us about that, John? What were we just looking at there? That was videos.
So we're looking at 9 different body cameras from 9 different officers, all right around midnight. Within a minute or so of midnight, and we're hearing 5 bursts of 4 rounds each.
Right.
And automatic ARs are not equipped with 4-round burst trigger groups. They're equipped with 3-round burst trigger groups. So somebody who's pulling the trigger and can squeeze off 4 rounds at a time 5 times in a row is pretty good on the trigger.
I mean,
that's an accomplished operator.
I don't know that much about this. Is there some gun that can do that? Is there a way to identify?
It would be custom. That would be a custom trigger group. Nobody manufactures a 4-round burst standard trigger group. So it would be custom. So this is somebody who's a professional operator. They're firing 4-round bursts perfectly, 5 in a row, 5 in succession. You hear the cops saying that's machine gun fire.
But let me just ask you this.
That's not my opinion. That's not my opinion.
No,
Those are eyewitnesses.
Let's just, for a moment, let's get into some forensic analysis of this 4-burst trigger group, because I don't really know anything about guns at all. So is that like illegal? Is that something that some foreign country would have? Is that something to do with the guns? Something to do with the capability of the operator? What are we listening to there?
When you get a a law enforcement version of an AR-15. When you get an automatic weapon, you can get it with full auto or burst fire. Burst fire trigger groups fire 3 rounds with 1 trigger pull. They do not fire 4 rounds. What we're hearing in that video is 5 bursts of 4 rounds each. So that's not a trigger group. Nobody makes that.
What is a trigger group?
It's the mechanism that when you pull the trigger decides if your gun is semi-auto or full auto. So in order for it to be a fully automatic weapon, you have a switch. The switch says whether it's going to go full auto, single fire, or safe. In one case, that's a full auto weapon. The other has a 3-round burst, and some weapons have both 3-round and full auto. But they don't have 4. So someone is very accomplished on the trigger. Whoever's pulling the trigger is a pro.
People are saying there's no way a human could do that, that it's some sort of
That's
trigger
not true.
burst.
No, that's not true. Don't tell that to Chris Peranto. Don't tell that to any Special Forces guy. If you're good, you can do it. Yeah. If you're good, you can do it.
B. Smith says the shooter was a pro.
No question.
Mr. B says custom. Is it possible this is some
Could
sort
be.
of custom device that would allow
certainly
that?
could. Yeah, so somebody certainly could have a 4-burst trigger group made, but I think that's reaching. This is just these are professional commandos. This was a professional operation.
Says no manufacturer makes 4-round bursts.
Correct.
And yes,
Exactly.
other people are saying mercenaries, bump stocks are crap, political junk.
Right.
Now Danny
This is
Diesel
5
says,
perfect.
have you seen the video proof of LRAD? Danny found that using your video. What is LRAD?
So LRAD, I think, is audio projection, where they're trying to use audio to scare the public. And it may have been used, I don't know. But what I do know is how many people were actually shot. So if we're counting the rounds fired and we have 100 seconds, roughly, of gunfire. Right. So from the time the gunfire begins to the time the gunfire ends, if you get rid of everything in between, there's about 100 seconds of gunfire. All right, so that's 60 plus 40, right? So it's less than 2 minutes, 100 seconds. In that 100 seconds, we have 1,057 rounds or brass shells that were recovered in room 32-135, and we have 8 brass shells that were recovered in room 32-134. We didn't hear if any brass shells were recovered outside that had gone out the window, right? So if he's firing that many, did any of them fly out the window and land down? We didn't hear about that.
So we heard one fly out the window, though.
I don't know. I don't think I have my own ideas about that. So
let me ask
we've got
this.
100 seconds of gunfire. Yeah. We've got 1,057 rounds expended. So this LRAD argument, could it have been used? Yes, but we've got 58 people that were killed, and we have 417 that were wounded by gunfire. So that's almost right. So that's almost half of the rounds, right? Half of the gunfire. If we're talking about almost 500 people. Correct.
Now, okay, so here's another, I'm not saying I know what this means or I agree with this or I disagree with this, but HVAC in plumbing says it's radio chatter from all cops' comms. What does that mean? I don't think that's right. It sounds like gunfire.
Well, according to the cops, according to the cops on the ground, it's gunfire. Right. The air conditioning gentleman may know more than the cops on the ground. I don't know. So that's that clip. I think it's pretty compelling. You've got 9 different body cams. You've got officers saying that's machine gun fire.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm just going to. Right. I'm just putting the evidence out there. I'm really not making a call on it. I don't think I need to make a call on it. I think the evidence speaks for itself.
And to be clear, the cops are saying, hey, that's machine gun fire. Multiple officers are heard saying that's machine gun fire, and it's occurring after midnight.
Right before midnight. I think it's a minute or two before midnight.
Before midnight.
I think, just before midnight.
Right. And we see the time. We see the time
11:58:50. Yeah, 11:58:47, 11:50. So it's minute and 20 seconds before midnight.
Now, aren't we sometimes seeing...
Paddock has supposedly been dead for an hour and a half plus.
So this is UTC time or something like that? What are we looking at here?
Correct. John? That's Zulu UTC time. and that time equates to 11:58 p.m.
in Las Vegas, which is Pacific
Correct.
time.
It's I think it's Mountain Time.
No, Las Vegas is Pacific, same time as Los Angeles.
Okay, there you go.
So what does that do to our time? How does that change our time calculation?
It's still 11:58.
11:50.
That's 11:50. Right. 0500 is 10 p.m.
On Zulu time, 0500.
Correct.
0500 is
correct.
10 p.m. Okay, all right, so there we go. And that's been confirmed, corroborated by multiple people. And what are they saying in this car? We can see in the rear view, side view mirror here, that Bellagio is right behind this car. And I guess, where are they driving here? So they're hearing, coming from Bellagio, what are they saying? Oh,
well, dispatch says that they've got reports of gunfire at Bellagio, and then a moment later we hear 5 bursts of 4 rounds, and so these guys say, Bellagio, right? They're driving, and they're like, yeah.
Right, and the Bellagio Hotel is a fairly significant distance away from the Mandalay Bay and the Luxor, right? Or maybe it's right next to the Luxor. Where is? Let's get on Google Earth here for a second.
Further north, and I think we have Renee Downs, who was an eyewitness who claims that there were shots fired at the Bellagio. There was glass
broken. Why did the FIT report not give us any official confirmation? I mean, we hear radio dispatch messages about shots being fired in multiple hotels, Paris Hotel. Why is the FIT report not detailing any of that?
Well, and last time we were together, we talked about not just reports of shots being fired, but evidence being found. There were shells found in the bathroom at the Paris Hotel. Joe Napoli witnessed shells. Another lady witnessed shells behind the Tropicana. So we've got audio evidence of machine gun fire. We have eyewitnesses saying they saw used brass. We have magazines that are being found. And none of this is in the FIT report. None
magazines. Of it. Yeah, bullet magazines.
Right.
Not
Correct.
Guns and ammo. Magazine.
Right.
So
this is pretty compelling evidence. This is 9 different body cameras showing gunfire at midnight. It's not in the FIT report. It's not mentioned. And so the question is, who's discharging their weapon? Is this a police officer firing 20 rounds? And if so, at whom?
Right.
Who are they shooting? Who are they shooting at?
Correct. Excellent question. And so what we've got right here is Bellagio Hotel is right across the street from the Paris Hotel, which we're going to talk about in a moment. Bellagio's most notable feature is this gigantic man-made lake in front of it that includes the Bellagio fountain, which was the first super elaborate dancing fountain like this, and it's a significant distance from, it's on the same side of the street, same side of Las Vegas Boulevard as the Luxor and the Mandalay Bay, but it's several blocks away. I don't think there's really any way someone shooting from the Mandalay Bay could even reach the Bellagio. It doesn't seem possible. John, you still there?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think you've got the Excaliburs in the way, right? So I don't think you can shoot from Mandalay Bay to Bellagio.
You've got several buildings in the way. It would seem.
Yeah, it's somewhat absurd. So again, that's what this footage is putting forth, is that there's gunfire going off after Paddock is dead. Clearly, this is half an hour after the breach.
Right. The breach of his hotel room there.
Right.
Where there's also 3 women in the room who the cops haven't said anything about.
Well, 3 women registered to the room. We don't know where they were when the room was breached, but there were 3 women registered to the room, right?
Good point.
Were they there when they breached or not? We don't know that.
Okay. So do we want to go to our next clip?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's take a look.
Okay, so back to this crowdsourcing model. You've got a viewer who goes by Diana X who has shared a clip. Yeah,
Diana X has her own channel.
Okay.
She's been a viewer, and another independent investigator has had some great insights, asks great questions, has done some really powerful work. She discovered this clip, and the reason that this clip is so important, this clip is a clip that synchronizes with the Robert Goodwin footage.
Now, she's speaking Hebrew, John, so I think both you and I will now be accused of being Mossad.
Exactly.
So this was filmed at the exact same time at the Goodwin footage. Now, this is very compelling.
Right.
That's not radio chatter. This is a waveform analysis, of.
Yeah, this is gunfire. This is gunfire. One of these is the Goodwin footage, and the other is the Hebrew speaking footage. And so what we're showing here is that this is absolutely happening at the same exact time. So the Goodwin footage and the Hebrew speaking footage, they synchronize perfectly.
Right? So wait, let me just ask you this. So what we're seeing right here on screen is actually two separate. It's the waveform from two separate videos, correct? This top
correct.
one.
Exactly.
The top
right.
one is the Hebrew speaking footage,
and the bottom one is the Robert Goodwin footage.
Okay. So now you are very clearly showing us that this is like pattern matching. There's going to be slight differences I detect here, possibly due to the speed of the recording and maybe the sampling frequency. Depending on how these things were handled, there can be some scaling of these things. But they are.
Correct.
This is like a fingerprint, basically, right here.
Exactly, and we're talking about fractions of a second. This is a match. There's no question this is a match. I've spent a lot of time doing this. So based on that, the reason this is important is that the Robert Goodwin footage until now was really the go-to footage for people that were buying into this whole narrative that Stephen Paddock did this alone and shot everybody out of the window. The only footage we had that showed anything that resembled muzzle blast coming from 32-135 was this Robert Goodwin footage. But no one had correlated it with any other footage of 32-135. When Diana X found this other footage that was shot at exactly the same moment, hold off on that. Yeah. So when Diana X pulled this video up, this is shot at the same moment, and what's ironic about it is that this footage from Diana X is possibly the clearest, most straight-on footage we have of 32-135 in the past year plus.
Let me run it again.
This is so crystal clear of 32-135, and the question is, do we see any muzzle blast whatsoever?
Let me clear this stuff off screen, and we'll just look at this and listen to this. I mean, it's looking right at it for sure, and I didn't see any signs of muzzle blast there.
And that's what makes it so ironic, right? So at exactly the same moment as what the narrative huggers, we call them, are clinging to as their best evidence of gunfire coming from the suite, we have evidence of complete darkness.
Yeah.
At the same moment. So this may be the clearest, most compelling video footage that there's no gunfire coming from 32-135. The irony is that it's happening at the exact same moment as the narrative huggers' best piece of evidence. So,
and by narrative huggers, John, you mean people who are really focused on sticking to the narrative that Stephen Paddock was the shooter?
Correct. And that these shots are being fired from 32-135. We see no evidence of that. I see zero photographic, zero video evidence that any shots were fired from 32-135.
In fact, you presented a lot of evidence that directly contradicts that. Video footage from police body cams that show the window not broken. Let me just share something with you for a moment, John, because Danny in the comments has emailed me something that he wants me to share with you. But, in the category of strange things that happen when I have you on the show, all of my email accounts are giving me that exclamation point saying that they're offline. I don't know why that would be. We're obviously on the internet here. What do you think of that?
Well, strange things seem to happen when you have me on the show.
Indeed. So I apologize, Danny. I'm not able to get that email right now. Very strange.
Well, you just mentioned something about the window being broken, the window not being broken.
Yeah.
And, I took a pretty hard stand and said, I don't see any evidence that the window 135 is broken. I do see evidence that 134 was broken, number one, and shots were fired from that room. I do see photographic evidence of that. I do not see photographic evidence that shots were fired from 32 and 35.
Right.
This most recent big video that we did with the 3,800 views, Major Break, LVMPD.
Yes. Great video. And I want to remind people to go over to the John E. Hoover channel. You can dive into all of these videos that we're talking about here. This one right here, Major Break. We'll take a look at that.
I think we have that queued up. Yeah, we have that queued up. And I want to take a look at that because, again, this is new information. This is a body cam that came out a few weeks back. And that video with this new body cam, this is new information. This is something that nobody had talked about to date. Nobody, this is completely new. And this is somewhat earth-shattering. So this is queued up. This is when the guys have breached the suite. Right, so 32-135 is breached. The officers are inside.
Yep.
We have Corey Mickelson, who's not mentioned in the FIT report. Corey Mickelson is a lieutenant. He's the one wearing the boonie hat, and he's the one who's communicating over the radio. He's a lieutenant, but he's not mentioned in the FIT report for some reason. I don't know why. So Corey Mickelson is the one in the room that you're going to hear on the radio. He's talking to guys outside the room. And the guys outside the room are effectively ground-based snipers. He's not talking to the guys in the helicopter. He's talking to the guys on the ground.
This is all LVMPD personnel you're talking about, helicopter snipers, et cetera.
Yes, and this is all body cam evidence. This is all provided by the Las Vegas Police Department.
Let's take a look at this clip.
Another broken window out that we're focusing on, but we just need to make sure if you guys are in there or not because there is a little bit of movement. It's clear. One suspect down.
So the officer says he sees movement in the window, but no one has yet to pull the curtain back in 32-135. That is weird.
What do you need, Levi? You guys, there's a window that faces east. You have another broken window out that we're focusing on, but we just need to make sure if you guys are in there or not because there is a little bit of movement. It's clear. One suspect down.
Now, let me pause it here, John, because they're talking about a window facing east. So when I was watching the video on your channel, I was having a little difficulty kind of, I know Vegas pretty well. I've been there a bunch of times, but let's get ourselves oriented as to what's east, what's west, etc. I presume that you're going to be able to...
Let's take a look.
Yeah, so here's the Mandalay Bay right here.
Spin that baby around a little bit. Let's look at room 134.
Right.
If we look at room 134, that faces east.
Okay,
room
so first things first. This right over here, if people can see my mouse in the lower right-hand corner, this is the venue right here. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
That's right.
So then we're gonna very, very slow performance all of a sudden. Okay. So this is the side of the Mandalay Bay that Paddock, according to the official story, was shooting from, right around here. So this is Las Vegas Boulevard running right in front of the two hotels. We see right here Mandalay Bay and Luxor. What direction does Las Vegas Boulevard run?
So Las Vegas Boulevard runs north and south.
Okay.
And room 134 on the side of the hotel faces east. And the second window that we see broken in the photos that have been provided is on that beveled corner.
Right.
And then there's another surface that is the end of the building, and that's the north the north facing windows.
Right. So the beveled corner right here is this side, And then this
Right.
is what's actually facing north.
Correct. Those are the north-facing windows that face the Luxor. So the Luxor is directly across from those windows.
Right.
And what we're hearing these officers who are outside the hotel describe is a broken window on the north side facing the Luxor.
Right.
And they say they see movement,
This
and they're
is
trying to
Luxor
confirm
here.
with correct. And they're trying to confirm with Corey, is that you guys we see? Because we're looking at a broken window on the north side of the building. If you let
But
that
isn't
play
it
one more time.
conceivable, John, that this beveled section could be mistaken for facing north? It's sort of 45 degrees to north and west.
East.
Sorry.
East, yeah. Yeah, so that would be northeast. And, well, between those two surfaces, which one would you say is facing the Luxor?
Well, definitely this one is, but I think
Okay.
there could be some. I mean, the one that's flush facing it, fully north.
Possibly. So that's why we get to the point where they're saying we see movement, and nobody's gone to the window. Nobody's pulled the curtain back. Brett Brosnahan, who's also not mentioned in the FIT report, has not yet gone to the window and pulled the curtain back. So what movement are they seeing? They're saying, is that you guys? We see people.
Right,
Right?
and there's
Now the
no
room-
other police team in the other section of the room or another part of the hotel. This is
Let it play. Let it play another 20 seconds or so. Let's take a look.
Okay.
Let's take a
Let's
look.
go back to this clip here.
Keep pushing. We still don't have to do a sweep for victims. Keep pushing. Yes, right here. We are facing north. Just confirming that is you guys. That's in the broken window that faces the Luxor.
Right.
That's the north side of the building. That's the north side. Those are the windows that face the Luxor.
This is the north side. But
Correct.
didn't we at some point see broken windows on this beveled side?
Correct.
So
that's the
couldn't
window
this
we
just
see
be a
broken in the
mistake
morning.
where the cops are saying this is facing north? I mean, this is kind of
Could
facing
be.
north.
Certainly could be. That's not facing north. If you were a captain of an airplane or a ship, you'd be fired if you said that's facing north. That's
Right.
northeast.
Correct.
That's
Good
45 degrees from north.
You would
Right, so
hope
if
that
you're
the
navigating-
cops are speaking with that degree of specificity to each other when they're trying to locate some.
He says he sees movement in the window. Is that you guys?
Right.
What movement is he seeing? In a broken window. He says he sees movement in the broken window. Is that you?
And so the police team that we just saw prior in the video, they're in 32-134, or where are they?
No, they're in 135. Let it play again. Go back. Let it play one more, from where you are.
From where I was, or take it back? We're
So
facing
right there, all right, so right there, when he says we're facing north, Corey is looking at the windows that face the Luxor. So they're talking about the north-facing windows. He's looking at the north-facing window. The window next to the chair that we see broken out the next morning, there's nobody standing there. Brett Brosnahan has yet to pull that curtain back. So when they say we see movement, there's nobody in the window. Who are they seeing? They're not looking at 32-135 is my hypothesis. So again, press play, watch what happens. Watch how this unfolds. It's fascinating.
Okay.
Yes, right here. We are facing north. Just confirming that is you guys. That's in the broken window that faces the Luxor.
Okay, so I want to pause it here for a second because, clearly the video footage we just saw of the cops in the hotel room, that's definitely the room that we've seen in the photographs of Stephen Paddock dead. And so that's 32-135. Where didn't he have it adjoining to 32-134? He had both of those rooms reserved, right? John? John, did I lose you?
Nope, I'm here.
So-
we don't question that 134 was broken. So we have an eyewitness that the glass was falling at 10:05 p.m. His name is Lucas Brook. He saw the glass falling at 10:05. He is a reliable witness. We see gunfire coming from 134. So that's not, there's no doubt about that. It's the other window in 135 next to the chair that we have questioned.
Over here.
And that's on that diagonal, correct, right next to that pillar. So you see where the pillar is? Up in the corner.
Oh, this
The
pillar.
other pillar.
Okay,
That's
so it's
right.
this
So the
window basically right here.
I think it's the one to the left of it is the window. And the blue is
okay, I
curtains.
see that.
There you
So
go.
What is this? Curtains, this blue thing?
That's curtains, correct.
Okay, so that's a window right there. All right, so let's keep playing this.
Just confirming that is you guys that's in the broken window that faces the Luxor. Keep pushing. We still don't have to do a sweep for victims. Keep pushing. It's right here. We are facing north. We are facing north. Just confirming that is you guys that's in the broken window that faces the Luxor. Might have another room that has a broken window that also faces the Luxor off that north end. Might have another room that has a broken window that also faces the Luxor off that north end. Might have another room that has a broken window that also faces the Luxor off that north end.
So you've repeated this.
That has a broken window that also faces the Luxor off that north end.
All right, so obviously you consider this statement over the radio very important because you've repeated it. So people are saying,
This is massive. This is huge.
Explain it to us.
He says, I have another room that has a broken window.
Right.
That also faces the Luxor off that north end. Mm-hmm. I don't think he could be more clear.
So what happened? Are we proposing that a window was replaced in the middle of the night?
Well, you have to put together the pieces that you have. So this is new information, right?
Right.
So if this is the window he's talking about, and it's the window we see on the news, what movement is he talking about? Nobody's gone to the window yet. Brett Brosnahan hasn't pulled the curtain back, right? Mm-hmm. So now listen to this. Whoever's on the 32nd floor, listen to this.
Right here, I can't tell what direction this room is. Let me get to a window and see. What do you need, Levi? You guys, there's a window that faces east. You have another broken window out that we're focusing on, but we just need to make sure if you guys are in there or not because there is a little bit of movement. It's clear. One suspect down. Just confirming that is you guys that's in the broken window that faces the Luxor. You're facing the Luxor? We do not have a broken window. Okay, copy. It looks like you might have another room that has a broken window that also faces the Luxor off that north end. There's a little bit of movement. Another room that has a broken window that also faces the Luxor off that north end. There's a little bit of movement.
Okay. So I think at some point in the near future, we should do an Ask Me Anything segment, John, because there's a lot of people piping comments in here, sometimes that have typos that make it so that I can't understand what they're getting at. And I don't want to just blurt out these comments, but I mean, again, there have been times that you've had theories that you've gotten new information that have shown you that the theories were wrong, were, evolving, developing as new information comes in. But the thing that's so compelling here is that this BWC footage, the body-worn camera footage, is coming out now, and it seems to be supporting some of your earlier theories. There's someone in here who's saying that you've got something wrong about it being Corey or not being Corey, or I don't know what the guy's talking about. But you've also introduced the very real possibility, and in fact, you've even shown us examples of where it's been done, that the LVMPD, I mean, who's to say they're not manipulating this video footage, this audio, anything could be done to this material. This is just videos that they're releasing, right?
That's correct. Now, this footage was filmed at 9:47 p.m.
This
And
is
this
another
footage-
one of the things that that I had seen on your channel that originally prompted me to contact you, because I thought this was just so compelling, so unbelievable. You're showing right up here in this window here, I'm going to step through it, smoke coming out of that window. I mean, it looks like a rifle blast. I'm just inching forward and back, but there's something coming out of that window. What the hell is that?
And this is happening at 9:47 p.m. And this is long before anybody talked about first shots fired. We reported this about a year ago. We
And it
broke this
definitely
about a year
seems
ago.
to be coming out the side that is facing the Luxor.
Correct.
So now, right after this blowout here in the video, let me hit play. So you have now cut this so that it's juxtaposed with that piece of footage of the daytime. So
Correct.
this was taken the
Correct.
next day. And it's not inconceivable that someone who knew they were setting up some sort of deceptive operation could remove the window and have it sitting there. I mean, the guy saying the window is broken, he's basically saying the window's not there. He doesn't know if it's broken or removed. He can see into the room and he can see light.
Correct.
Right. Oh, Batgirl brings up the zip line idea, and I heard about that on your channel as well, that there's
Right.
potentially a zip line. So again, the zip line being used, that would be something not that some boozy, hooker-loving poker player would do. That's something that a military operation would do. And
Well,
conceivably,
if there were a zip line anchored in room 32-135, right, and they were zip lining out the window, you'd think the officers would see it, the curtain
Right.
would be pulled back, and they'd be talking about it. They're talking about the vibrator in the suitcase. I would think they would talk about the zip line, right? if
you've
there
been
were a zip
over
line
this
in there.
footage a lot.
Yeah. So they don't talk about a zip line. You would think they would if there was one in the room. Yet we see this event at 9:47 p.m.
Do you know what
In
room
fact-
that is that the blast is coming out of?
Hit play. Hit play.
Let me get that back. so
Let it
everybody
run.
can
Let
see
it run. And we zero in. Yeah. We'll zero in on that.
Okay, so it's you've got that blast coming right there.
Mm-hmm. And if you just let it play for another 10 seconds, I think we'll show you what room it is.
Okay. Ah, right. You overlaid the image of the hotel, so that's very well done, John.
Thank you.
I mean, this is expertly done.
Thank you. We believe that's the window that these snipers are looking at.
The snipers, the police snipers, the LVMPD
Correct.
snipers.
Correct. And we believe that window was repaired before dawn.
Right, right. And if that's, so as I understand it, the theory is, so that's up in the floors that are the Four Seasons Hotel, which is 45% owned by Kingdom Holdings, which is owned by Al-Walid bin Talal, who is
Correct.
the definite enemy of Donald Trump, and the definite enemy of Mohammed bin Salman, and the definite ally of Jamal Khashoggi.
Absolutely. He was his employer.
Yes.
That's right.
So, see, the thing that I find interesting is that we're just asking the question, is there some connection between the events in Las Vegas on October 1st, 2017, and the incredible array of events that have been going on in Saudi Arabia that seem to indicate an internal war within the Saudi Arabian royal family? Now, we're talking about incredible financial power and military and strategic power. Someone who controls Saudi Arabia really kind of has the United States by the scrotum because of this petrodollar situation. So the notion that individuals might kill each other to gain that power.
I don't know that I agree with that premise necessarily any longer. I think that was the case, but now that the U.S. is fracking, and now that we're the number one producer of oil, basically there's three horsemen now. There's the United States, there's Saudi Arabia, and there's Russia. And
but
when you see Putin with MBS.
Let me interrupt for just a second, John, because this is
sure.
something that I think a lot of people don't fully get, and that's done on purpose. It doesn't have to do with who's producing the most oil. It has to do with the deal that Henry Kissinger made at the behest of Richard Nixon in 1973 with the Saudi Arabian royal family to create the petrodollar. The petrodollar is this unit that provides the entire value for the whole U.S. economy. It's basically a demand that every country producing oil or buying or selling oil must conduct the transaction in dollars. And anyone who has attempted to defy this system gets killed. I'm talking about Saddam Hussein. I'm talking about Gaddafi. And so, someone in Saudi Arabia who says, you know what, we're throwing this petrodollar out the window, would totally disrupt the U.S. economy. Saudi Arabia buys U.S. debt in the form of treasury bonds. There's something going on there. I don't know what it is. And when you and I started talking about it with the helicopters, the Saudi Air National Guard, that's when we saw Jake come to the channel, lie to me. He said he didn't want a preliminary discussion with you to get a handle on any alleged misunderstanding due to YouTube comments. He just said he wants to, go right to the conversation. And I feel he sabotaged that interview by claiming that you weren't living in Thailand, which he later admitted that you were. I find it very strange that he's fluent in Thai, that he was hanging around in Thailand getting kidnapped by warlords and dealing with the CIA, and he's going and talking to the FBI on his channel. I've spoken to the FBI on the phone, I've spoken to Robin Gritz, I've spoken to people who have left the FBI, but I'm not in regular contact with the FBI. I also found it interesting that Jake Morphonios was being sued by the same exact people who were suing me, and then they stopped. And I seem to recall asking him why the lawsuit stopped, and he said he didn't know. Jake did lie, Torianne. Jake lied, and he said that he spoke to the Saudi Arabian embassy, and they told him that Mohammed bin Salman was not in Las Vegas, that he was in Jeddah. And I say, there is no way that the Saudi Arabian embassy is giving a person on the telephone information about a member of the royal family. Jake further lied when he said he had news articles that corroborated that, and he never showed the news articles. He showed a photograph from a Russian newspaper with the King of Saudi Arabia and MBS, and the date of that newspaper was October 1st. When I found the international version of that newspaper, which was the same article translated into English, the copy of the article said the king and the prince will come to Moscow in the coming weeks. Didn't say where he was on October 1st. In fact, when we scoured the internet for this information after Jake made that claim, we were unable to find any articles giving a definitive location for MBS on that day, and Jake never came forward with the truth. Torianne, Jake is a liar. I'm not bashing him. I'm saying if he has evidence, he should present it, and he hasn't done that. John has come back with evidence and more evidence and corroborating evidence. We've got now police body camera footage, John, that shows 3 helicopters in the air, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
This is a good question. Where was Jamal Khashoggi on October 1st? That's a very good question.
That's a very, very good question. We did a video about Jamal Khashoggi. It's on the channel. And again, I think that MBS is getting a bad rap because people don't know what has happened to him. I'm a big fan of MBS. I love what he's doing. I think he's the best thing to happen to the Middle East and to Saudi-American relations in decades. I'm a big fan. I like him. I like his brother. But it's kill or be killed over there, and the cousins are angry. He's 33 years old.
Let me just add one thing.
They want him dead.
Just add one thing here, John. I'm sorry to distract, but anyone who doesn't want to hear about Jake or wants to come into the comments and tell me what to do should just leave right now, because Jake has lied and Jake has falsified evidence. And when I said that, he didn't come back with countermanding evidence to disprove what I'm saying. He made a bunch of videos and sent a bunch of people who are his fans here to say bad things about me. So anybody who doesn't like what I have to say about Jake, go get the evidence and prove me wrong, or just go away. Where can I find this video on the John E. Hoover YouTube channel about Jamal Khashoggi?
I think just scroll down a little bit. You should. It'll be there. Just scroll down. There'll be a picture of MBS, I think. Yeah, there'll be a picture of MBS.
I don't know if MBS is a good guy or a bad guy, but he definitely does seem to be aligned with Donald Trump. Where is it?
Did Jamal Khashoggi do something that warranted is the title, and there's a picture of MBS near Tucker. Up, you just passed it. There you go. Top row.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy, but he definitely is friends with Donald Trump, and al-Walid bin Talal definitely is not. So the notion that something is going on there, there were multiple attacks within Saudi Arabia on Saudi Arabian palaces. MBS was shot.
That's what this video is about. That's what this video is about. There have been multiple attempts on his life, but because of the way the public relations department at the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia wants to manage this, they don't talk about that. And so people don't realize the jeopardy that MBS has been in, that there have been multiple attempts on his life. Again, I'm a big fan. I love this guy. I love what he's trying to do. I support him. And the fact that his cousins and his uncles are trying to kill him is not his fault, right? You can't hold this guy responsible that people are trying to kill him. But they don't tell people that this is happening. And so when you look at an event like the Night of a Thousand Swords, and on November 5th, 2017, 5 weeks after the attack in Las Vegas, it seems rash. It seems outrageous. What is he doing? He's locking up Bakr bin Laden. He's locking up al-Walid bin Talal. He locked up bin Nayef. Bin Nayef has won all kinds of awards from the CIA. He locked up the most powerful billionaires in the country and said it was because of corruption.
Right.
No, they were trying to kill him.
Let me set any matter of personal preference aside. So again, I'm not saying I like MBS, I dislike MBS. I'm just observing that Donald Trump said he believes that the King of Saudi Arabia and the Crown Prince know exactly what they're doing. He tweeted that.
That's exactly right.
He said, I'm aligned with these guys, and we know that al-Walid bin Talal has put out multiple tweets saying that he feels Donald Trump is a disgrace. And,
correct. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's the issue at hand here. And the thing that I find so strange about what Jake did is that we're just evaluating evidence. And he immediately said, this is crazy, don't look at this, don't talk about this, you can't even examine it. Now, if Jake had come with actual newspaper articles saying, here is the Crown Prince in such and such a city at such and such an event where people observed him and he's waving and we know he's there, I'd say, okay, obviously that's correct. But he hasn't done that. He's lied. Now, Aces Wild MMA is saying that the 3 women were confirmed a glitch on the body cam. That doesn't sound correct. Haven't we seen a report written about 3 women? What do we know about the 3 women, John?
That's in the police report, and we hear it over the radio, and then they give us 51 seconds of silence after they divulge that there's 3 women in the room. We know their first names, but then the LVMPD wipes 51 seconds of audio from the body cam.
Let's look at that. Where do I find that on your channel? The wipe.
Actually, I'm running. Let me think. That would be in the Laura Loomer video. If you go. Laura Loomer, the honeypot, and the 3 women.
Right.
Yeah, right there.
Okay, so we looked at that last time, but this was definitely interesting. We know their first names, but it's very clear that there's they're
So
blurring
the
out.
question is,
Wait, there it was.
yeah. So if the LVMPD is ordered by the court to release this, did the court also put a footnote saying, and it's okay to just cut out audio? It's okay. Well, look how much they're cutting out of the screen.
Yeah, why are they able to
So
blur
room
the screen here?
135
There's
on the
obviously
32nd floor,
something there they don't want us to see.
Last name is Paddock. On the 32nd floor. That's where they believe the shooting's coming from. The guest name's Paddock, Paddock. OCK. First name's Steven with a PH.
Where's the part where the audio cuts out?
And
Right after he said,
registered
here you
there
go.
was 3 other females. I don't know, you want all their names. Are you there? Yeah, there's 3 other females staying there with him.
That doesn't sound like a radio glitch to me. Okay, here's your 51 seconds of missing audio after he describes 3 women in the room with Paddock. And now 51 seconds of audio are missing. Is that contempt of court? Is that obstruction of justice? Is that malfeasance? Or is it all 3?
Now,
Is it all 3?
Let me just add this, John, because I'm not trying to feed trolls, but I am trying to point out to, there's a lot of people who watch Crowdsource the Truth and even just, go to the internet or try to find information anywhere who are confused because there's a lot of conflicting information coming at everybody from everywhere. Oh, John, you there? John? That's the sound of Skype about to fail. John, can you hear me? There's a poor network connection, it says. Well, John? Interesting how that goes. Let's see if we can get John back on the line here. We've lost John. John? John?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
lost my connection.
I don't know why that happened. So Aces Wild MMA says the Mandalay Bay security confirmed those 3 women, Joanne, Katie, and Laura, were a freaking glitch, and Hoover keeps pushing it. First of all, why do we trust Mandalay Bay security? And second of all, the 3rd woman's name was not Laura, was it? Laura Loomer is the reporter. And John's not pushing
it is Laura.
John's observing the evidence.
I'm just presenting the evidence. Aces Wild seems to be angry.
Yes.
And I'm not sure why.
Well,
I'm
John,
just
let me
presenting the
point
evidence.
this out because, this audio dropout happens at the exact spot in the video where the police have also blurred something. So there's something on one of these computer screens or on a desk or on an iPad or something here that they obviously don't want us to see. And that being coincident with an audio dropout seems quite strange to me.
Right. So now the question is, this is a slippery slope. If you're willing to cut out 51 seconds of audio here and other audio
What else
elsewhere,
will they change? Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So the integrity of the evidence that we're being provided by the LVMPD, exactly.
Right.
And that's the takeaway.
And there do seem to be people, like, look, John, you and I have spoken about the State Department GEC. We're aware that the 2013 or 2014 National Defense Authorization Act created the Smith-Mundt modernization, which allows for propaganda to be used against citizens of the United States. So how is that being executed? Is it by hiring people like Jake Morphonios to come to broadcasts like this and to disrupt what we're doing and lie?
Next time we get together. We should talk about the State Department.
Yes, and we are almost out of time, but Danny Diesel has been telling me about this proof LRADs were used. Are you familiar with this video?
Again, if it's used, so what?
Well,
We've
Danny's
got
in the
400
chat. He's very adamant that we show this. Let's.
It's great. I'm out of time. I have a hard stop right now. But
Okay.
Here's what I would tell you about LRAD. Could it have been used? Yes.
What is LRAD again? That's sound?
This is odd. Yeah, exactly. And now the question is, but we have 417 gunshot victims, and we have 58 that were killed. So whether or not LRAD was used or not, I'm not sure that that's material. What's material is that there's three helicopters shooting people.
Yeah.
That's material. That's material. Whether or not those helicopters have LRAD, that's a footnote to me. That's a footnote.
Right. I don't understand what he's getting at here, but people can go check out that proof LRADs were used. I mean, I kind of agree with you. So even if they're using LRADs, it's really just a distraction from the fact that somebody else is shooting. We have multiple people. Elsewhere in your videos, I heard eyewitness testimony from someone who said, is that a person hanging on a rope outside the hotel? And somebody else who says, yeah, it looks like somebody hanging there. So that sounds like a zip line. We've got firsthand testimony from someone who saw a helicopter and described what looked exactly like the Boeing helicopter configuration that you showed in your video about the training of the Saudi Air National Guard. We have a lot of evidence to indicate that something was going on in the section of the hotel that's owned by the guy who hates Donald Trump, hates Mohammed bin Salman, and seems to like Jamal Khashoggi. Jamal Khashoggi was killed and chopped up, which seems like the type of thing an angry king might do to someone who is trying to kill him. I don't know. These are all just interesting things. And when you and I started talking about it, the Jew-hating liar, Jake Morphonios, came onto this channel and started saying all kinds of stuff that didn't make sense and wasn't corroborated by any evidence whatsoever. The last thing I want to share, because I know you got to go, John, is this interesting article I found from UNLV. UNLV had conducted a study that police body-worn cameras reduce reports of misconduct and reduce the use of force. I would suspect because the police know that anything they do that's wrong is going to be recorded on the camera. Elsewhere on the John E. Hoover YouTube channel, there are multiple body camera videos revealing the police instructing their fellow officers to turn their body cameras off. Why is this something that the police are even allowed to do? I really firmly believe that the body cam should be on all the time, should be recorded off-site, off of the police officer's body to some sort of streaming server, and there should be some official protocol for covering the camera when the officer needs to use the restroom or some obvious situation where we don't need a recording of that. But for the police officer to, at their own discretion, just switch these cameras off seems to defeat the purpose of having the camera there.
Exactly. I agree with you completely.
All right. Well, John,
Jason,
listen,
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
For having
More
me on
compelling
again.
evidence. Have a great day or night or whatever it is right there in the part of the world that you're in. And we'll be back with you pretty soon, John. Keep up the great work. You really are, I think, the tip of the spear on this Las Vegas investigation. We're almost on Las Vegas investigation 2.0 at this point because the LVMPD have officially closed their investigation, but yet there's a ton of evidence coming forward. People should go to the John E. Hoover YouTube channel. Glad to see you're over 11,000 subscribers now. Hopefully we can get you beyond 12 before our next meeting. And I want to thank everyone for watching. I want to remind everyone that Crowdsource the Truth is a viewer-supported news outlet, so we need your support. Please go to patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and become a sponsor. You can also send a one-time sponsorship payment to paypal.me/crowdsourcethetruth. Sponsors $10 or higher are going to get a free Sunday with Charles screensaver. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks John for joining me. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jason.
Take care.